Welcome back to week 10 of the Frostburg Sports Awards, and I have Gavin Lavat, who's our Merit Athlete of the Week. He had another career day and broke a very special record here at Frostburg. Gavin, normally I asked about your overall performance and what you thought, but what are your emotions and your feelings after breaking the school's all-time rushing record?
I mean, not many emotions or feelings, I guess. It feels great. It's like a weight lifted off my shoulders. Um, yeah, I guess it hasn't really hit me yet. I'm just focused on next week. It's ring week. We have a big game. It's on TV, so that's where my focus is right now.
Now, I was watching during the game, and while I'm statting, and you had the long run at the end to break that record. Were the coaches talking about it? Was anyone on the sideline talking about it? Like, hey, Gavin, if you break one off, you've got the record. Or you were just focused on, hey, this is the next play. They're just feeding me the ball. I'm gonna feed all day and try to beat up on this defense like you did all day.
Yeah, they came to me at halftime and just told me I was running well. I had the hot hand, and they were going to keep giving me the rock. So I just, I knew I had a shot. I never knew I'd, have a career day. But on that last run, I really wish I would have scored. Getting hawked down on the record-breaking run isn't a good look, but I'm glad I got to break it that day.
Was it one of those where at the end you're just, you've been running all day and you finally just a little bit out of gas and the defense finally just had that little bit of speed to catch up to you?
They handed it to me 4 times before that run, and I was just gassed. I heard him behind me, panting, chasing me down, and I wish I would have just came back and clubbed him one good time, but it was good to break a long run to break the record.
And this coming after the game against Fairmont, which was your previous career high, the 190 yards, 5 touchdowns. This one, a much more grinding game, and we talked about that long run you had against Fairmont, the 75-yard touchdown. This one was just a lot of chunk plays, a lot of 6-7 yards at a time, where you didn't really until the end need to break one out, and the offense could just run through you the whole day.
Yeah, it was definitely just piece by piece, taking those 20-yard gains when we can and going down and finishing in the red zone. Yeah.
In the game, going out, and Wesleyan kind of surprised us. They took an early lead, a couple of touchdowns in their first drives, and the team just wasn't gelling at the start. What was the message from the coaches to get you guys back motivated? Obviously, with a little bit of censorship, knowing sometimes football coaches, but just to get you guys back on track and ready for the rest of the game after they kind of came out with a fire under them.
Yeah, I guess they caught us by surprise. I don't know if maybe we took them too lightly to start the game. It never really felt like we were behind. We were just making little mistakes. Coaches adjusted it, and I don't think they scored the rest of the first half or the whole game. Yeah, seriously. We fixed it early on, and the defense picked things up.
Yeah, and so going into this next week against West Liberty, a game that's on Masson, and you were part of the team that the game against Charleston a couple of years ago, which was also broadcast on TV. When you guys found out about the news, what was your emotion like, and what was this feeling around the team where we're going to be on regional television yet again, and this is a big moment for Bobcat Stadium and the school as a whole?
Yeah, I mean, Fitz always says, if you can't get up for this one, you're doing something wrong in your free time. This is live television. We're playing for a conference championship, basically. So the team's really hyped. We have a quick turnaround, and we're just trying to make sure that we're well prepared for this Thursday.
You talked about preparation. What is the team's preparation going into this week where it's that last hurdle? It's the final game. You guys, the theme this entire year has been one bucket, and everyone puts a little bit of work into every single day, and then you unload it. Now this is on a short week, so how much are you going to be able to unload? But is this the culmination of that phrase and what this team has done all season?
Yeah, and it is a short week, but we, especially the seniors, know this is our last hurrah. So we can rest on Friday. We can rest Saturday. Fitz made a joke. We can take the whole weekend off if we want. So we're gonna keep grinding out this week and just put all the injuries and soreness behind us and just really push through to get this win on Thursday.
You've been through a couple of championship teams here at Frostburg, winning the NJAC 2 years in a row, coming into the Mountain East. And we talked a little bit about that transition from D3 up to D2, and it's just it's a different ball player that comes up into this division. And after the first year, we kind of announced ourselves in the MEC and going 8-3 and surprising a lot of teams and showing what we have. In the spring, obviously a little bit different and not being able to really show a ton, but still just competing. And now this year, only the one loss against Notre Dame, a very close game. But what does it show about this team that they've been able to have this great season and be atop the MEC as we stand now?
You know, it shows that we are a real competitor. 2019 wasn't a fluke, and we have a lot more left in the tank. You know, I think that if we play Notre Dame again, it might end a little differently, and you know, we have a lot to prove.
All right, well, Gavin, thank you for coming on today. I want to give you a big congratulations for breaking the record. It's well deserved after all the years you've put in, and for a fine rushing performance on top of that against Wesleyan. And we really appreciate you being here. We've appreciated your time this entire season.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.
All right, well, stay tuned. Next up, we'll have Keith Byrnes from men's soccer, who's our coach of the week. Thank you, and as always, go Bobcats. Back on week 10 of the Frostburg Sports Boys, and I have Keith Byrnes from men's soccer, who's our coach of the week. They won a big game against West Virginia Wesleyan on Wednesday and secured their spot in the MEC tournament. Coach, I want to get your thoughts on your team's performance and finally that knowledge that you guys are going to be able to make the tournament for the first time since being in the MEC.
Yeah, the team performed well. You know, we knew what was at stake. I thought they came out maybe a little scared, giving up the goal early, felt a little bit of the pressure, but the response was fantastic. You know, they kept working, plugging away, and, you know, good things happen when you put a good work effort in. And, you know, I thought they made some things happen towards the end that just kind of allowed us to kind of feel good and control the game.
What was the message to the team or trying to communicate with them after that opening 5 minutes where Wesleyan scored that goal, took the early lead, for them to be able to settle down and play within themselves rather than, like you said, they were a little bit frantic at the beginning? How was it that they were able to find their feet, get the ball on the ground, and start passing around and getting better chances after going down that goal early, where we knew Wesleyan was going to come in trying to win this game as much as they could, and us being able to fight back and put pressure back on them?
Well, I think the good thing about giving up an early goal is there's a lot of time left. So, you know, once they did settle down and didn't give up a second, then the confidence started to grow and they started to put some things together. Plus, I think the first time around, you know, we thought we played well against them, missed our opportunities, which hurt us in the end, and then, you know, switched off for a few plays here and there and lost the game. But we thought we actually played well against them. So I think we had that confidence that we could do it. It was just a matter of, again, settling into the game, doing some things well with the ball, having a little bit more composure, and then eventually finding the back of the net.
One player that caught my eye, and it was under some extenuating circumstances, but Jose Rodriguez went out, got the injury. Sam Cryer came in and filled his spot and performed really well defensively and as a threat going forward. It was him that provided the cross for Kenny to be able to score that header to equalize, but Sam hasn't had, you know, a ton of playing time. The back four has pretty much stayed consistent, but he's come in, and whenever he's been in the game, he does a job, and he certainly did that against Wesleyan this time.
Yeah, so Sam actually picked up the injury during preseason, so he was out for a good month or so. So he's just now kind of getting confidence into the flow, finding a way to get him some minutes, because we had settled into a pretty consistent back line who played well, so we weren't just going to throw him back in there. So we've been using him here and there, giving him spot minutes to get this playing time up. But we knew if called upon, he could get the job done, and I think he did. I think he's still, if you ask him, he's still not 100% physically or just even confidence-wise, because he just hasn't had enough reps. But, you know, we talked in the beginning of the year, one of the strengths we thought this year would be depth, and I think it's shown with Matt going out with the ACL, Jose with the broken foot. You know, we've got guys that are, you know, can get the job done for us.
Another guy that stepped up in this game, Kenny Sims, who's had a lot of really bright moments this season, hasn't always had the final product and the goals and assists that come with it, but he's stepped up. He came in as a transfer, started out the year a little bit slow, a nagging injury in the preseason, but has really filled out that winger forward role for you guys and came up big time in this game and is always a threat on the counterattack with his pace and his control, and he came up and he showed his heading ability in this game.
Yeah, I mean, he's a guy we want to get into the attack more. We need more from our front three. We think he's got the capability of doing it. There's been some inconsistencies in his game, but I think it's there. If his focus is good and he's confident in his play, he does have the pace, he has the technical ability, he has the strength. So he can make things happen, whether it's for himself or for someone else. And yeah, I mean, it wasn't your typical, you know, cross and header. It was a header from deep where he flicked it on and just, checked his shoulder, see where the goalie was, and put it on frame, and it was nicely placed.
Another guy you talked about the depth in the center back position, Yanni Dranica, who has really played as more of an outside back in his time here since the spring. Matt Garrett, you talked about the injury to him and a bad injury for him, but Yanni has stepped up, came into the center back role. Again, took a little bit of time, like the rest of the team, to settle in that game, but from that point on, he was very calm and composed on the ball, won his challenges, and a very professional performance from him alongside Isaiah Dell, who's been used to being in that role all season.
Yeah, Yanni mostly play him at right back, and that's more just to get him minutes because we just don't sub the center backs quite as much. That's the spot where you try to steal a couple minutes here and there for guys to get him some playing time. But his true position is center back, and there's been depth there. But with the Andrew being out and then the injury to Matt, he's getting his chance, and he's trying to make the most of it. So again, he's got the tools. We think we've got the depth. Now he just needs experience and minutes, and hopefully he can keep it going for at least 2 more games.
One of the substitutes that came in, and Caleb Dell, Isaiah's brother, usually plays in that holding midfield position, the number 6, and is good with defending and bringing the ball forward. But one weapon that he brought that I haven't seen a lot this season is the throw-ins, and the long throw-ins caused Wesleyan a lot of problems. And it was off the throw-in that he took the launch, and then Gallo was able to flick it in, and we took the lead in that second half. The emotion around the guys where we have the lead now, but now we have to hold on to that lead and not allow them to come back into this game.
Yeah, I mean, the long throw-in, sometimes it's not the prettiest soccer, but it's effective soccer. I mean, it gets the ball in the box. And we have pretty good height, and I think we had more height than them, which was trouble on some of the set pieces. But yeah, we don't, it's not really something you count on, but if you get the opportunity, you make the most of it. But the team did do a good job once they got that goal. I thought in some other games where we've had the lead, we played kind of panicked at the end, and it was just defense and clearing. But I thought we actually denied them some good chances and still maintained possession of the ball and never let them really threaten the goal. And we saw the game out better than we had in the past occasions, I thought.
It seemed like in that second half, after you guys had scored that goal, that, like you sort of mentioned, Wesleyan was the team that was sort of panicking and trying to be frantic and get the ball forward, just launching it over the top a lot of the times. Whereas when you guys were in possession, you were the ones that were maintaining it, trying to pass it around and create more chances where, like you said, it's sort of been the opposite in some of our games. But in this game, the team really came around mentally, and it just shows some of the difference from the spring where some of those games would have been lost. But in this game, where it mattered the most, they really stepped up and they were able to hold themselves together for that entirety of the second half.
Yeah, I mean, coming into the game, I think Wesleyan, just like everyone else, but they had some injuries to some guys and they picked up some during the game, just like we did. And then sometimes that can deflate you when you think you need to count on somebody, and sometimes guys step up and give it an opportunity. And so that could have played a little bit of a role, but I also think when you're down that goal, because we do it all the time, you play more direct and you play, just get the ball down in the box and try to make something happen. So it takes them out of the game plan a little bit of maybe the way they'd like to play. So credit to our guys for defending the long balls and winning them and trying to then keep possession and not, just give it right back to them, which is, again, in the past sometimes it's just clear the ball and then you're just defending right back again. So you like to at least try to maintain possession in the attacking third and see if you can get that third goal and really put the game away, which we weren't able to do, but I did thought we saw the game out well enough.
Looking ahead to this week and qualifying for the MEC playoffs, knowing our opponent, it's going to be Davis and Elkins, and it's going to be on the road. D&E, a team that we've seen twice this season, a top 5 team. They're very talented. They like to control the ball, don't give away a lot of chances. But for your guys' preparation, being able to make the MEC tournament and then knowing your opponent and being able to prepare for them, what is sort of the emotion surrounding the team of knowing that we're qualified and preparing for what's going to be a really tough opponent?
Well, we set a goal to qualify. So, I mean, we thought we could be a top 4 team. We didn't think we'd be the best team in the conference, but we thought we could be a top 4 team. And I think it turned out that we were. And I think 1, 2, and 3 are a little bit ahead of us still. But, if you're close enough on that day, just like our win against Notre Dame, anything can happen. So they're excited. They're pumped. It's funny. Usually it's the second time around where you feel comfortable. We've already played them twice. This is the third time. So we do know what we're going to get, and it's definitely a quality opponent. But we've got enough film and enough experience now to hopefully, look at what they're trying to do tactically and how can we counter that, and then put ourselves in positions to be more dangerous. The first game, we just worked extremely hard. We were never really dangerous. The second game, We got the goal, but I thought we kind of just came out flat, and they took an early lead. So, we know that it's going to take one of our better performances to match them. So, it's the way we look at it is it's an opportunity to play a nationally ranked team and our conference champs, technically, for the regular season anyway. So it's, can we make the most of it?
All right, Coach. Well, I want to thank you for coming on today. We really appreciate your time here, and congratulations to you guys for making the tournament. And we certainly want to wish you the best of luck for this upcoming week.
Well, I appreciate it. Hopefully we can do this again, and maybe we'll be playing next Sunday.
Absolutely, it'd be great. And so stay tuned. And wrapping up the Frostburg Sports Awards for this week, we'll have Lydia Nebiolo, who's back women's swimming. She broke a school record, so she is our female athlete of the week. Thank you for watching. Wrapping up week 10 of the Frostburg Sports Awards, and we're welcoming back Lydia Nebiolo, who just broke the school record in the 1,000-yard freestyle. Lydia, usually we ask about your overall performance, but this week we just want to get your thoughts and emotions after you learned that you broke that school record after coming close earlier this year.
It was a very surreal moment because they combined the heats of men's and women's. And so I looked up and saw my time and thought it was one of the guys' times. And I looked at my coach and I was like, is that me? And he said, yeah, that's you. And I completely broke down because all my hard work was paying off and I smashed the record by 5 seconds.
So in that emotion, against Alderson Broad, it's kind of a weird meet where they only had one female swimmer that was there. They had 4 men's swimmers, so it's a very small team. But when you're competing against that, and did it turn into sort of where you're competing against your own teammates and not really focusing on the fact that it's technically a competitive meet and it's just us against us, essentially?
I think in any race, it's always just you versus the clock. And sometimes it is better to have the competition next to you, but if you don't have the competition, you have to know how to race by yourself and just race the clock and push to do your best every time.
And we talked about that, a couple of weeks ago when we brought you on, is that when you're so far ahead is that you're just keeping yourself in the race and the clock is there. But and one of the relays I wanted to talk about, the final relay we did, the 200-yard freestyle, where our head coach Andrew put in essentially an A team and an A2 team, where you guys were really close. Was that sort of just a fun moment where the 2 female relay teams were just neck and neck the entire way and competing against one another?
It's always fun to race against your teammates because it is in practice and in meet your teammates who push you to do your best. And so it was pretty fun to just race against other teams.
One event that you did is the 100-yard backstroke, which is the first time you swam at the collegiate level. Was that something that you've been practicing, in your practices, or is it something that Andrew came up to you and was like, hey, why don't you just try out this event? It's not a super competitive meet, but we just want to see where you can finish and what your time's going to be.
When we do stroke days in practice, I often find myself doing backstroke. And so he noticed that I was doing that in practice this week and decided to throw me in the backstroke just to see how I would do. And he was pretty happy with my performance. And I swam a lot of backstroke in high school, so it's not too far off of what I've previously done.
Is that something that you guys have practiced a lot where, you'll go in and obviously everyone has their best events and their best stroke and whatnot, but learning what else you can do and finding out, maybe in high school, like I was okay at this event, but this is my main event. And then you get to college and you're like, well, I can actually swim this other event that I've done before.
Yeah, we've done that a lot this season because I've never swam the 1,000 before this year. And here I am, I've swam it twice and I broke the record. And in the future, I'm going to be swimming like the mile. And there's just a lot of new experiences in general because in high school I found myself only doing freestyle. And so in the past meets he's thrown me in a couple butterfly events, or in this past meet he threw me in the backstroke. And so I think especially as a freshman, it's best to just experiment and see where you can best help the team.
Now, coming off of this meet, it's about a month off for you guys where you have a lot of time to prepare before heading out to an invitational down in Virginia. So what's going to be the thoughts and the feelings where you're going to be off of competition for a while? It's just going to be practices, but you still have a lot of time to kind of rest the muscles and be mentally ready and focus a little bit more on school, which we know is very important to you, especially. But to have that month off in the middle of the season, it's kind of a nice break for you guys.
It is. It's a very nice break, and it gives us an opportunity to really focus on technique and just really build up our yardage, build up our muscle just to prepare for the invitational, which is our mid-season meet. and that really gives us a marker as to how we'll do at the end of season at champs.
You've already had sort of an invitational meet, but the relay meets at the beginning of the year, and now going into an invitational where there's going to be a lot of schools that are competing. It's not going to be like the traditional one team against another team. So does having that practice in that relay meet kind of help you guys, and especially coming as a freshman, a little mentally prepare and be like, okay, well, we've done this before where I'm not going to be, exactly knowing my competition the whole way, but still competing the best that I can, knowing that there's going to be a lot of talent there?
Absolutely. The relay meet really, it gave me an insight as a freshman just to see who the teams we were competing against were, see who their strong swimmers were, see who was doing the freestyle, who was doing the backstroke, and because I didn't know any of the teams in our conference, and so the meet gave us a really good opportunity to see the competition.
Well, Lydia, thank you for coming on today once again, and we appreciate you being here. Congratulations on your school record, and who knows, maybe you'll break another school record or two along your time here, but we want to thank you once again.
Thank you very much.
All right, well, stay tuned. Next week, we'll have a new batch of athletes and a coach, so stay tuned, and thank you for watching.